I mention in the book that my old friend, now died, Bob Hunter, journalist, brilliant man. He was my best friend, and sometimes, though, I called him my best enemy because we had our political differences through our time together. He coined the term at the very beginning of Greenpeace. He said, we have to be very careful. This is a powerful concept that may develop into something like ecofascism, where basically the environmental movement decides that it should be the arbitrator, that it should be the judge, that it should be the government, that it should be the decision maker. And to hell with democracy. And it's very much like that. If you've been confronted with it like I have for so many years, with this kind of poison thinking that will not listen, has already made its mind up long ago. On the other hand, the realization that this kind of thinking is wrong is also growing rapidly. And if you look at public opinion on issues like climate change, nuclear energy, you see there is a very large segment of the population that sees through the propaganda and recognizes the benefits of some of these achievements that we have made that could help us not only to move forward in our civilization, but to reduce our negative impacts on the environment. The thing that surprises even me about my book is that when I started to put all the examples, and I have just quickly a list of 11 points that I make in the beginning of the book, 10 serious policy issues and one perhaps religious belief, but the first one is grow more trees and use more wood. Now, most people wouldn't put that at the top of the agenda, but it's important that we think of it this way because it is at the top of the agenda. It's the most important renewable energy and material. Hydroelectric energy is number 2. Nuclear energy is number 3. Geothermal heat pump technology is number 4. More important than wind and solar put together, yet hardly known to most people. Sweden has 90% penetration of geothermal heat pumps into new buildings. No more gas furnaces. Switzerland, Austria, and Finland also have over 50%. This technology works in Italy too, especially in the higher places where it's colder in the winter. But it also works in warm places. It eliminates gas furnace, gas hot water heating, and conventional air conditioning, which is less efficient. Reduce fossil fuel consumption by changing technology. The Greens act as though you can just cut the pipeline off, or stop drilling for oil in the deep sea, or ban supertankers, or stop the oil sands in Canada or something. Just shut the gas off. No. There are 500 million cars that need fuel tomorrow morning in order to get people from one place to another. You can't just shut the gas off. People will kill you if you try in the end because they want gas now. On the other hand, if we gradually convert our small transportation, our personal cars and our delivery vehicles to take things in and out of the city, all those ones that come driving through the narrow streets of Rome nearly run over you in the day because they're trying to get the bread to the shop, those can all be electric. But it doesn't make much sense to charge their batteries with coal or gas-fired electricity because that's fossil fuels. That's why another reason why we need to move away from fossil fuel electricity. That allows us to move away from fossil fuel cars. Then we put geothermal heat pumps in our buildings. Now we have no fossil fuels in our buildings. Suddenly we can actually eliminate 50% of the fossil fuels if we understand that we have to change our technology in order to do it. You can't stop using fossil fuels in cars if all the cars need fossil fuels to go. But you can stop using fossil fuels in cars if you make a car that doesn't need fossil fuels. Next point is genetic science, including genetic modification. I won't elaborate too much, but for example, Greenpeace and its friends have prevented the adoption of golden rice for 12 years. It is a GMO. Some genes from maize, corn, have been put into rice to make the rice have vitamin A. World Health Organization estimates between 1/4 and 1/2 million children go blind and die young each year because of vitamin A deficiency from having a diet of only a cup of rice a day in urban slums in Asia and Africa. This problem can be completely eliminated by planting golden rice. The International Rice Research Institute has now got the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and this is going to go forward, but it's very slow because of the opposition from the Greens. They are responsible for millions of blind children because they say something could go wrong with a rice plant which has vitamin A in the grain of rice. Every rice plant has vitamin A. It's actually beta-carotene, but that's what we use to make vitamin A. Every plant has beta-carotene in its leaves, including all rice plants. But there's no beta-carotene in the grain of rice, like there is in the peel of potato. That's what makes it yellow under the skin, beta-carotene. Like there is in corn. That's what makes the corn yellow, beta-carotene. Like there is in wheat germ. There is beta-carotene. But there is no beta-carotene in rice. That's why it's white. If you put the corn genes in the rice plant, the rice becomes golden because now it has beta-carotene in it. The same thing that makes carrots orange, which is why they're good for your eyes, because you need these pigments to see. That's why the children go blind, because they don't have that pigment in their metabolism. Greenpeace says it is more important to stop GMO rice than it is to save 500,000 children from going blind and die young each year. Did I say there was an anti-human element in the environmental movement today? That is what you're speaking of, and that is what I'm fighting. The next point is we are banning many useful chemicals even when there is no scientific evidence that they are harmful to us. BPA is one of the most recent. Bisphenol A. There's no evidence of its harm. It's all in the lifestyle section of the newspapers and magazines written by journalists with no science understanding, and yet they are saying these are gender benders and they're going to make the boys' genitals the wrong size and all this stuff. They make fear in the population about the effects of these chemicals when there's no evidence. We need to grow more food in the sea, aquaculture, farm the ocean, like we do the land. And yet Greenpeace is against this too. There is no cause for alarm about climate. I've mentioned that. Poverty is the worst environmental problem in the world. When poor people cut the forest for fuel wood, they don't have any money to replant it. When they make the water dirty with their sewage, they don't have any technology to clean the water because they can't afford it. But most importantly, the issues of poverty and population growth can both be stopped by the mechanization of agriculture in the developing countries. Thankfully, that is happening. That is why 300 million Chinese are moving into cities, is because they are mechanizing their food production. When you mechanize your food production, suddenly families become smaller because children are no longer an asset for labor. They become a liability, in fact. And so automatically, just like in Europe and North America and Japan, families become smaller and population stops growing and people become educated and get wealthy. All with mechanizing agriculture.